Can I tag you in on Hilton's Law for a minute? Can you talk about that? Because I think that is a huge nugget for docs to get.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we talked about this before. So I just use the album, but it's like, listen, Hilton's Law says that the nerve and the blood flow to any joint, right, is that the nerves that cross that joint and all this stuff is all fed by the same, it goes to the same area of the brain, and everything that crosses that joint, I call it a motion unit. All parts of that motion unit that make it work, the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, the capsules, the nerves, the receptors, the afferent nerves, the afferent nerves, all of it is controlled by a very specific area in your sensory motor cortex, right? Now, it all goes through the cerebellum and it goes all through areas, but in terms of the topographical, the map, there's like a map. There's a little part. If I stimulate a certain area of your motor cortex, a certain part of your body will move. If I move a certain part of your body, a certain part of your sensory motor cortex will light up, right? It's very specific. So once any part of that system starts to degenerate or degrade, and by the way, what runs it, Brad? The whole thing that runs it, the thing that makes it work is motion. Yeah. Full range of motion through full range of motion against resistance every day. Without motion, everything degenerates, not just the local tissues, everything in between there in the brain and the brain itself and everything back. So if that's your problem, right, which is, by the way, an enormous problem in industrial life. Yeah. The biggest issue we have, the reason we have so many hip surgeries and knee replacements isn't from overactivity. It's because we sit and there's a lack of activity. So the most devastating thing you can do for the very system that is the underlying most important system to run your life and make your life enjoyable, right? And your survival, everything else. It's the motion system. It's the neuromusculoskeletal system is more important than your heart, more important than your brain. All of these other things serve your neuromusculoskeletal system, because without movement, you're dead.
Right.
Right. And so really, there's lots of interesting stuff on that. So imagine now you've got a joint that's not moving. And the solution that you're provided is a drug to numb you or a surgery to fuse it forever. And they call that healthcare. Because if they're not getting adjusted and getting that motion reestablished, they're not getting the neurology reestablished, they're not firing that brain area properly, everything starts to degenerate. The other areas of the brain, they're more likely now without movement. We know about Alzheimer's and dementia. We know about heart disease. We know about chronic inflammation. I mean, it's all based on us moving around. And so if you just thought for a moment, like if can a drug reestablish motion? No. Can surgery reestablish motion? No. Can a modality reestablish motion? So if the cause is lack of motion in that motion unit, lack of stimulation of that entire motion unit, which includes everything in the periphery and everything in between there in the brain and the brain itself, that's a motion unit. They are in an indissoluble union. You cannot affect any area of that motion unit without affecting every area of that motion unit. That's just fact. So fact, like irrefutable fact. You're a physiological moron if you don't understand that, literally. So once you understand that,
just put an exclamation point out. It's a fucking fact.
It's a fact, mate. But it's a fact everywhere except chiropractic college, it seems.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, no one else disputes this. Yeah. Nobody. The literature, like, everybody understands this, right? And so, unfortunately, we still got some people who think it's a peripheral problem, right? Or it's just a brain problem. None of those are true. It's an emotion unit problem.
How do you feel about external nervous system versus autonomic nervous system, periphery versus central nervous system? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts on that are just cut open the top of the head, pull the brain on the spinal cord out, and tell me where the separation is.
There is none.
Correct.
There is no peripheral. No. There is no central. It's the nervous system.
It's a system. Systems don't have, different parts, right? It's like the cardiovascular system. Well, you pull the heart and all the blood vessels out. Yeah. Where's the separation? Right. And how do you separate the veins from the arteries? It's one continuous loop. How do you separate efferent from afferent in the nervous system? You can't. It's one loop. Like, just understand. And by the way, this whole ecosystem you have is all one too. Like, it's all one thing. And so once you get this idea in your brain that your goal is to elicit the physiology which represents healthy structure and function. That's what your goal is. You want your patients to get healthier. And the way that you do that is by addressing the underlying causes that are within your scope of practice. And by the way, all the underlying causes are within the chiropractic scope of practice, because all the underlying causes of every illness, other than getting run over by a truck, like these major traumas, but all the chronic illnesses, all of these problems, the 99% of all the healthcare costs, 99% of all the chronic illnesses are all from what? They're from how we eat, move, and think. They're from a lack of motion. They're from poor diet. They're from inflammatory diet. And, it's all about in our scope. And here's the cool thing. The patients can do almost all of it on their own. You're in charge of the adjustment and then educating them about the very simplest things they can do at home. Take the essential nutrients, go for a walk, have some gratitude in your life, drink some more water. Dude, it's not rocket science.
Right.
And that'll do more for them than the single greatest. If they could get the top specialist in every field in medicine, and they will absolutely unequivocally have less success in helping that sick person get well than the chiropractor.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be accepting gifts if you want to send them. That was me riling up James Chestnut. Freaking gold, buddy.